Hello, welcome to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis. And this week we're continuing our discussion of our favorite directors here at Papa Nick's Music. Uh, as I said last time, um, I am a huge fan of movies. I watch a lot of movies. Um, Seriously, I watch at least one a day, probably two or three a day. And in my personal library here at the world headquarters of the multimedia entertainment conglomerate that is Papa Nick's Music, I have a library of about 1,500 titles, give or take. I watch a lot of movies. I really like movies, but I like movies. I am not a cinema buff. I like movies. I like stories that are well told. Um, I've got nothing against drama that examines the human condition, but I prefer a good story. So I tend to prefer genre movies. I like science fiction, fantasy, horror, mystery, comedy, right? Um, I'm not saying that the overtly, I'm not saying that the intensely dramatic, the intensely artistic is bad. No, I'm saying that's just not what I tend to prefer. Um, Also, as I said last time, I tend, when I'm watching a movie, I just kind of get sucked into the movie. I'm not paying attention to the elements of filmmaking for the most part. The only cinematic elements that I'm aware of as the movie is playing, I'm aware of the soundtrack, and I am aware of good Foley work. Oh, I love good Foley work. Um, I am aware of things like cinematography when it becomes an obstruction. If something is if the lighting is so dark that I can't tell what's going on, for example, okay, now I'm paying attention to the lighting. Wouldn't normally be paying attention to that, right? And I'm going through all of this just to let you know this is not a list of artistic masterpieces here. I think they're all masterpieces. I think they're all master craftsmen. But I like good stories. And this is true of most of my taste in art. If I'm looking at a painting, I can appreciate an abstract painting, but I'm going to gravitate towards landscapes because I like escapist art. I like art that I can imagine myself being in. I like art that seems real to me, but that extends that reality into an unexpected direction, which is why I like things like science fiction and fantasy. Cool? Okay. I hope that was understandable. But like I said a second ago, I'm going to be doing two of these videos. This week I'm talking about my top 10 conventional choices. Next week will be my top 10 unconventional choices. And unusually for a top 10 series entrant here at Papa Nick's Music, our unofficial sponsor this week is Modelo Limon y Sal Chelada. Ooh, I like this stuff. That's good beer. I mean, it's not Schofferhofer, but it's good beer. Before I get into my top 10 conventional choices, though, we have to talk about the subjectivity notice. We firmly believe here at Papa Nick's Music that there is no such thing as objectively good or objectively bad art. There is only art that we like and art that we don't. And as long as we keep that in mind, this is a wonderful conversation. It's interesting, I think. It's fun. It's informative. It is our chance to see the world from somebody else's perspective, and I would argue that is always a good thing. But the conversation goes right down the toilet the instant somebody insists on being seen as objectively right. So, please know, as I go through this, I am not making objective claims here. Obviously, I'm not, because I don't think they can be made. If you want to argue with something that I've said, that is entirely welcome. I always enjoy having that conversation. I would just appreciate it if you would avoid using objective framework in your comments as well. Cool? Cool. Okay, so last week when I gave you my top 10 directors I just don't get, I told you that I set the bar at 3. I had to see at least 3 movies by that director before I could include them on the list. I didn't want to unnecessarily lambaste somebody if I'm not familiar enough with their work to be able to do that. For this video and for next week's video, my minimum is 5. I have to have seen at least 5 of that director's movies in order for me to include them on my favorites lists. Cool? Cool. And I've got 10 of them for you today. Coming in at number 10. These are the directors that if I see the movie is directed by this director, I'm going to want to see it just based on that. Okay? And their conventional choices for that. Coming in at number 10, we have Robert Wise. I really like Robert Wise's movies. I've seen 7 of them, and when I was thinking about which movie I was going to pluck out to be the hallmark of quality for that director, I seriously considered Run Silent, Run Deep, because, oh my God, do I love that movie. But ultimately, if you want to know why I like Robert Wise, the movie you need to see is The Haunting. Oh my God, is that a fantastic movie. It is hands down the best haunted house movie I have ever seen. It is creepy. There are a few scenes in that even now, I've seen the movie several times, and even now they still get me. They still shock me. It's wonderful. Wonderful movie. I love Robert Wise. Coming in at number 9, we have John Huston. I really like John Huston a lot. I've seen 5 of John Huston's movies. I really like The Maltese Falcon. I mean, come on. I really like Key Largo, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. But my hallmark for quality here is The African Queen. Because, oh my God, Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn. It's just a wonderful movie. The character arcs for both Charlie Allnut and Rose are just wonderful. I love The African Queen. I love John Huston. Coming in at number 8. I didn't realize how many movies I had seen that John Sturges had directed until I was starting to do the work for this director project series that I've been working on. A director series project I've been working on. I've seen 9 of John Sturges's movies, and they're all fantastic. I mean, the closest we have to a stinker on this list is probably Ice Station Zebra, and I still enjoyed Ice Station Zebra, right? I think most people, if they're putting John Sturges on their favorite directors list, they're gonna put him on there for movies like The Great Escape or Bad Day at Black Rock. Oh my God, is that a good movie? But I'm putting him on here for The Magnificent Seven. It's one of my favorite westerns, and it is, okay, yeah, it's a remake of Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Gotcha. I understand that, so, but it introduces or imports from that Japanese original so many staples of westerns that were then built on by other films. I love The Magnificent Seven. Oh man, James Coburn. He's so good in that movie. Anyway, number 8, John Sturges. My number 7 director is one of the 2 directors. I've only seen 5 of his movies, but one of those movies is one of my all-time favorite movies I have ever seen. And it was directed by Frank Capra. And yes, that movie I'm talking about, my hallmark for quality, is It's a Wonderful Life. I cannot say enough positive things about this movie. It's the little fine details all the way throughout. One of my favorite individual scenes in any movie I have ever seen is James Stewart's barely controlled rage when he lifts up the newel off the top of the post. Is that what that thing's called? Yeah, the ball thing on top of that. You know what I'm talking about. He's going up the stairs and he grabs that and it comes off, and it's everything he can do to just put it back and not, scream bloody murder and throw it through the window. And it is a glorious scene. And It's a Wonderful Life is just chock full of stuff like that. Wonderful, wonderful movie. Yes, I watch it every year at Christmas, but, I'm not limited to just thinking of it as a Christmas movie. I'll watch it 365 days a year because it's just that good. Number 7 on my list of 10 favorite conventional directors, Frank Capra. Number 6 on my list. I was just talking about how I didn't realize I had seen so many movies by John Sturges. I've seen 9 of John Sturges's movies, and I was surprised by that. I was even more surprised by my number 6. I've seen 16 of this guy's movies. I knew I had seen a lot of his movies, but I didn't know I had seen that many of them. And that person, my number 6 choice here, is Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood. Okay, so I think I would hate being stuck in an elevator with him. I don't know that I'd get along really well with Clint Eastwood, the man. But he knows how to make a good movie. Like I said, I've seen 16 of his movies, and there are only a couple of them on there that are weak. I mean, Space Cowboys, that was a weak movie. I dimly remember most of his movies from Absolute Power on that I've seen. They were okay. Space Cowboys is the only one of the bunch that I think, Gran Torino was, but man, when he first started, Play Misty for me, wonderful. High Plains Drifter is a great movie. But my hallmark of quality for Clint Eastwood's movies is The Outlaw Josie Wales. The only negative thing I can say about The Outlaw Josie Wales is that it's one of the handful of movies he made that had Sandra Locke in it. And man, I mean, I understand she's your girlfriend / wife, but geez Louise. But the story is wonderful. I have respect for anyone who can make me sympathize with a Confederate soldier. And Clint Eastwood does that in The Outlaw Josie Wales. So, number 6, Clint Eastwood. My number 5 is a director that I knew as soon as I started thinking about this, I was going to be putting him on on one of my top 10s. And I figure he's got to be a conventional choice by now. I've seen 6 of his movies and really liked all of them, really liked all but one of them. And that director is Steven Soderbergh. If I have to pick a hallmark of quality, it would be Out of Sight, which I think is just, it is the best movie adaptation I have seen of an Elmore Leonard novel. And I have seen a lot. And there are a lot of good ones out there. Elmore Leonard has a higher success ratio when it comes to the movies that are made of his books than most authors. Compare him to someone like Stephen King, that nobody ever makes a movie that's as good as the original Stephen King novel. Many of the movies that I've seen that are based on Elmore Leonard's books they're not as good as the books, but they're still good movies, right? And Out of Sight is one of those. I love that movie. And I like Aaron. I like Aaron Brockovich a lot. I like Steven Soderbergh a lot. So I've got him here at number 5 on my top 10 of conventional choices. Coming in at number 4. I've seen 7 of his movies, and I like all of them to varying degrees. He hasn't made one yet that I think to myself, oh man, I wish he hadn't done that. And that's Christopher Nolan. The more of his movies I watch, the more I like him. The more I am coming to trust that I will like the movie simply because he's attached to it and he's in charge of making it. If I have to pick a hallmark of quality here, I mean, it's tempting to go with one of his Batman movies, although I am in the overwhelming minority when it comes to his Batman movies because I'm not particularly moved by Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. I don't think it's a bad job, but I don't think it's, a stunning piece of work that everybody else thinks it is. So if I'm going to pick one of his movies, I would pick Inception. Inception is the movie that he made that made me, that not only sucked me into a fundamentally different universe in a way that I had absolutely no difficulty with suspension and belief, with the suspension of disbelief as I was watching the movie. And the movie itself made me think about the topics that it was raising more than I'm accustomed to, and I didn't resist that. So I think it's a good movie. I'm wrestling with a way to say that doesn't sound insulting. So I'll just leave it at, I think it's a really good movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and it and a really good series of Batman movies is why, that's why Christopher Nolan is on my list. At number 4, Christopher Nolan. Which brings us to number 3. Now, when I first started thinking about this list of conventional directors, I knew immediately who my top 3 were going to be. Didn't have to do any thinking, didn't have to do any reflection. Who's your favorite director? Bam. Who's your next favorite director? Bam. Okay, who's your next favorite director? Bam. Okay, who's your next? Let me think about that. Right? These top 3 are definitely my top 3. Coming in at number 3, we have Joel and Ethan Coen, because, oh my God, do I love me a good Coen Brothers movie. The first movie of theirs that I ever saw was Raising Arizona, which I saw in the theater when it came out. I had absolutely no idea what to expect, and it rocked my world, and it is still my favorite movie that the Coen brothers have done. It is my hallmark of quality movie for the Coens. I went back later and caught up by watching Blood Simple, and there for a while I was watching all of the movies as they were released. There's a chunk in the middle that I've missed. But, you know, Fargo's fantastic. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? I really like. Burn After Reading I thought was good. I like their version of True Grit. I even like The Lady Killers. I mean, come on. I am not as big a fan of The Big Lebowski as most people are. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. But it's not, you know, it doesn't have the cult status for me that it has for most of the people that I know. But I really do admire the Coen brothers, and I love watching their movies. So coming in at number 3, Joel and Ethan Coen. Coming in at number 2. Now, I had a friend when I was in college, Chuck. Chuck, if you're watching, get in touch, man. I miss you. Chuck and I were good buddies. We hung around a lot. We chatted a lot. I've mentioned Chuck before whenever I've been talking in any video where I talk about Joe Jackson, because Chuck was one of my Joe Jackson fan friends when I was in college. And Chuck was a photography major. The school that I went to surprisingly had one of the better, in the 80s when I was in college, it had one of the better film departments in the Southwest. I mean, it was a widely recognized within the region quality film school. Which I didn't know. But Chuck knew, that's why he was there, and he was studying photography. And we were talking about movies one day, and he asked me who my favorite director was, and I told him my choice for number 2. And he said, "Why do you like that? Why do you like him so much?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I really like the way his movies look. I think they're very pretty." And he kind of looked at me like I told him that I like sucking on rat turds. And he said, "Yeah, that's the problem. They're very pretty." So I'm used to a certain amount of people looking down their nose at me because I like this director. Because the same way that music fans will look down their nose at you if you say that you think that Paul McCartney is a good bassist. They'll, right? It's that kind of thing. He's gotten a better reputation as he has aged, because he has taken more. He's done more. He's done more diverse things and that sort of thing. But I have always been a big fan of my number 2 director, who is Steven Spielberg. I remember Duel when it was broadcast on television, and I remember being blown away by that. Now, granted, I was a kid when that thing aired, but I remember thinking, "Oh, that's fantastic." I mean, you got an entire movie of Dennis Weaver driving a pickup truck or station wagon. Oh man, it's been too long since I've seen it. But he's trying to get away from a semi that's chasing him and playing chicken with him on these twisty mountain roads. Oh man, it is a harrowing experience to watch, and it blew my socks off. And I have seen when it comes to the movie count of all of these directors, I have seen more Steven Spielberg movies than any of the other directors. I've seen 21 of his movies, and some of them are a little on the you know, not going to change my world. I'm not. I wouldn't have been disappointed had I not seen it at all. His sequel to Jurassic Park, I didn't need to see that. The King Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I did not need to see that. The Terminal, but he's got Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He's got Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Jurassic Park, Minority Report, Saving Private Ryan, Catch Me If You Can, oh my God, Lincoln, Bridge of Spies. I mean, there are a lot of really good movies in there that I really like. But my hallmark for quality is the obvious one I skipped as I was going through that, and that is Jaws, which is just, it's not a perfect movie, but it is as good as a perfect movie. It might even be better than a perfect movie because you don't realize or I didn't realize its imperfections when I was watching it. For an example of what I mean, there is a scene. You have seen Jaws. I'm sure you have seen Jaws. Richard Dreyfuss's character, Matt Hooper, has arrived at Amity to help Roy Scheider's Sheriff Brody, God, I blanked out on his name there for a second, deal with this shark issue that they've got. And Matt wants to see the remains of the first victim. And so Brody takes him into Amity's version of a morgue, which looks like, the back, the office of a Radio Shack or something. And they pull out this big, Tupperware tub that has the remains in it. I'm laughing, but it's, very dark humor. And while Hooper is examining these remains, he's tape recording his notes as he's doing this. It's a really gripping scene as you're watching it, because I mean he lifts out her arm at one point and he's looking at the ragged, chewed up end of her arm, and is, oh God, creepy. If you have seen this movie, if you already know what I'm talking about, hey, thumbs up. If you, at this point, you're thinking to yourself, why the hell is he bringing this up? Okay, next time the movie is on, when this scene comes up, don't watch it, just listen to it. Don't pay any attention to the visuals, just listen to the dialogue. And what you notice pretty quickly is the dialogue makes abso-fucking-lutely no sense. There is, comic effect there. There are a couple of extremely vicious edits to that dialogue where it's the line that he says when he's holding up the arm. And that line that he says has absolutely nothing to do with the thing that came before or the thing that comes after. It's complete non sequitur. It is gibberish in terms of the overall content of what he's saying. But I didn't notice that. I didn't notice a man speaking a sentence, and by the way, I had a potato for lunch, in the middle of what he was saying that had absolutely nothing to do with what he's talking about. I didn't see that first time I saw this movie. I didn't see it until probably like the 20th time I had seen the movie. It took that long for the power of the visual image to recede to the point where I was actually paying attention to the dialogue, right? I think that's amazing. I think would be a better movie had it not had that kind of edit that had that kind of a negative effect on the dialogue. But the fact that Spielberg was able to cover up for it, it's amazing, I think. I also think it is a stroke of good luck in Spielberg's favor that Bruce the prop shark didn't work very well. As I understand it, and I could be wrong, I am not a film scholar, but as I understand it, the original vision of the movie was that the shark was going to be much more active in terms of what we see, because they had developed this mechanical shark that was going to be doing all of this swimming, and ooh, it's going to look so cool. and it didn't work. And so he had to make a shift. Instead of us watching the shark, we were now watching the events from the shark's perspective. And oh my God, was that brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Jaws is one of my all-time favorite movies. I can watch that thing back to back all day long. I love it. And on the strength of that one alone, just disregarding the 15, 20 other movies we have on this list that I think are glorious, yeah, Jaws is enough. Steven Spielberg is my number 2 favorite director among my conventional choices. But my favorite director among my conventional choices, the master himself, Alfred Hitchcock. Oh, God, I love good Alfred Hitchcock movie. There are a bunch of movies that I would consider for the hallmark of quality. Rebecca is just, oh my God, that thing's glorious. Suspicion is really good. Shadow of a Doubt is unsettling. Lifeboat, oh my God, that man could wring so much story and visual entertainment out of such a limited space. There are a lot of these movies that I like, but the hallmark of quality has to go to Rear Window. I know Vertigo is the sexy choice, but I think Rear Window is his best movie. As I was walking through the movies, I mentioned Lifeboat and getting a lot of storytelling out of such a confined space. We've got the same thing here with Rear Window. The whole thing is set in this tiny little apartment. And yeah, we get to see out into the courtyard. We get to see across the courtyard into Raymond Burr's building. But, you know, we don't have any big swooping camera movements. We don't have, at no point does Jeffries ever get out of the apartment other than when he's thrown out the window at the end. You know? Even that, we're watching that from the apartment. You know, Jeffries gets to leave the apartment, but we don't. Anyway, I love Rear Window. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and I love Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock is enough. Of all of the movies of his that I've seen, the only one that I would say, okay, I'm not particularly fond of that, is Frenzy. Frenzy is the only one that it's like, yeah, okay, I kind of wasted my time watching that. But that's 1 out of 18 of his movies that I've seen. So 17 movies that I think are all fantastic. Runaway winner, hands down, my all-time favorite director, my number 1 choice among my conventional choices for my top 10 directors. And those are my top 10 conventional choices for my top 10 directors. Got to be a better way of saying that. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you agree with my friend Chuck and think that Steven Spielberg shouldn't belong on this list because he makes glossy, pretty pictures? Drop that comment down below. I always love hearing from you. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you go down and click the like button. While you're down there clicking, if you haven't already done so, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to me, so I very much appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope that the rest of your day is untroubled. See you soon.